Hello, this is the Watchdog, and welcome back to Fun with Watches. If watches weren't fun, you'd only need one. Today we're going to review the Pagani Design PD1685. Let's start out with the wrist check. Since I'm reviewing the 1685, I decided to pull out the PD1667, which looks a lot like it. And Greg was wearing my Sanda 9021. Grego said he saw a new movie directed by Han Solo called Porg Soup. It starred the four Sparks brothers, Groucho, Chico, Harpo, and Greedo. I said, how was Greedo in the movie? He's dead. Grogu said that the movie has been in production a long time, so Han must have shot Greedo first. All right, let's take a look at the watch. Comes in this typical Pagani Design box. It's not the snapper one. It's the one with the lid. And here is the watch. Isn't that a nice looking watch? I really like it. I think they did a good job with this one. So if you want a watch that looks like this, I think you should go out and buy it. You don't even have to watch this review. When I first started my channel way back when, one of my first reviews was of the Pagani Design PD1667, which resembled the coloring of the No Time to Die Seamaster, but none of the markings such as the government issue symbol. But to stay true to the No Time to Die theme, I got it on the mesh bracelet, which would have been my choice should I ever obtain the real thing. So when I saw this PD1685, it was different enough from the PD1667 to not only justify a look, but also a full review. Some differences include a link bracelet with the distinct connector links of the Omega that it is homaging. Other differences, or should I say improvements, are the wave pattern engraved on the dial, the 6 o'clock date, 200 meter water resistance, and a fully loomed bezel. So if you already own a 1667, the 1685 is more than just different colorways. Thankfully, they didn't add the pointless and divisive manual helium escape valve of the real Omega. Speaking of colorways, you have a choice of white dials with black or blue bezels, black dials with black bezels, or gray dials with blue bezels. For some reason, the gray dial models come with the Miyota 8215, while other models come with the more preferred NH35. If you don't like the bracelet, you can get the watch on a sailcloth strap that matches the color of the bezel. This watch is a full-size watch. It's 42 millimeters at the bezel, 49 millimeters lug to lug with inverted end links, 14.2 millimeters thick, and that includes the dome crystal, has a 20 millimeter lug width, and weighs 170 grams on the supplied bracelet with 3 links removed. And the watch, the dimensions of the watch head, they're identical to the PD1667. I measured them both. The bezel is a ceramic unidirectional, and the ad said it was 120 clicks. Well, the ad lied. This is a 90 click bezel. The same amount of clicks as the PD1667. I counted them. The action's kind of light too. I felt better bezel action, a little mushy, but not horrible. Just doesn't give you a lot of confidence when clicking. And the bezel is fully loomed, and you'll see that later on in the loom test. And then we have the dial. Unlike the PD1667, the dial has this wave pattern, and it looks really nice. I like the wave pattern. And then it says Pagani Design with the name and logo up top. And then it says automatic water resistant, 20 bars, 200 meters. The 1667 only had 100, so you're getting an extra 100 meters here. So it's more like a real dive watch. And then we have the applied loom indices. We have double batons at the 12, single batons at the 3 and the 6, and dots everywhere else. Then we have a little mini index right underneath the date. And the date is at the 6. I think that's great. I think the date at the 6 looks so much better. And kudos for Pagani Design, because the standard NH35 date wheel doesn't work at the 6, so that means they had to spend the extra money to replace the date wheel. And then we have the hands. The hands are some serious skeleton hands there. If you look at the hour hand, the protruding skeleton bars are solid, but if you look at the minute hand, they're actually hollow. There's actually 4 things coming out there. So it does a good job of not obscuring the dial. Of course, the downside is the loom part of the hands is a lot smaller than the PD1667, which did not have as much of a pronounced skeleton in the hands. And then we have the second hand with the loom lollipop. The crown is a sine screw down. Once again, give you 200 meters. The thread action feels fine. You don't feel a lot of resistance going out, and then it pops nicely. Then going back in, it catches right away, and you don't feel a lot of resistance going in either. So I really like the thread action. They did a good job with that. Then as you can see too, we have crown guards that actually guard the crown and don't just act like a little pedestal to put the crown up. And then we have the crystal. The crystal is really nice. It's sapphire with AR coating, and you don't see a ton of reflection there. And I like the crystal. I think they did a good job. And there's a little bit of dome to it, and there's a little bit of box to it. It sticks up above the bezel just a little bit. I don't know if I would call this a box crystal or not, but it's close. And then we have the case. The case is identical in size to the PD1667, and it's really nice. We got the brush sides. Then we have the chamfered edge here at the lugs that's polished. And then it looks like we have polished bottoms. That's kind of unusual to polish the bottoms, but that's fine. The brushwork on the case is really nice. They did a good job. I really like this case. But once again, it's the same dimensions as the PD1667. Then we have a display case back. I don't know if that's necessary or not on a tool dive watch, especially with an NH35. The NH35 is a great movement, and it's a very robust, reliable movement, but it's just not a very pretty movement. Especially Pagani Design, they don't ever update the rotors either. Some companies, they update the rotors, so at least they'll give you a pretty rotor, but not Pagani Design. They always stick with the stock rotor when it comes to the NH35 or the Miyota 8215. They always seem to fancy up the Chinese-made movements, though. And then the case back is a screw down. It says stainless steel, Pagani Design, water resistant, 200 meters. And then it also gives the model number, but you can barely see it. Yeah, there's the model number right there. See, you can barely see it. Underneath the case back is the NH35 movement. This is a 24 joule, 3 hertz movement that hand winds hacks and has a bidirectional rotor and about a 40-hour power reserve, and they're pretty reliable right off the shelf. But I bought a time grapher a couple years ago, and it cost me a lot of money, so I might as well use it. But keep in mind that Pagani Design does not regulate their movements at the factory, so your mileage may vary. Here it is on the time grapher. As you can see, we're running a bit fast here. Plus 11, plus 14. And we have quite a bit of beat error, 0.7 milliseconds. So that's why you see 2 lines on the screen. So this isn't the best running NH35 I've ever seen. But then again, it still is well within specs. And at least it's running fast and not slow, because on a fast movement, it's much easier. You can just hack it and wait for time to catch up. A slow movement, you actually have to move the hands. The bracelet is a 5-link, unlike the PD1667, which has a 3-link. But these links are not fully articulating. They are separate, but they're fixed. And we do have solid end links, and they are inverted, so at least the lug to lug's fairly short. And as you can see too, things are brushed, and then we have a little polished on these little middle links here. So it's a nice looking. And look at this too, we have half links. 1 half link here and 1 half link there. So if you can't get the perfect fit with this little gap of only 3 micro adjusts, you at least have half links. So that's a nice touch. You usually don't see half links on a Pagani Design, so I'm happy with that. We have push pin adjusters, not screw pins. I know I say this every time, but I have to keep in mind I can't assume that you've seen my other videos, whoever's watching this. but I am perfectly happy with push pins. I think they're easier, and I never have to worry about push pins coming out. I've had screw pins come out on me before. So I'm just fine with push pins. I can just get a tool and a hammer and just pound them out, and everything's great. Then we have the clasp. It's a milled clasp, and it has a diver's extension. I don't know why they need a diver's extension. This is not an ISO 6425 watch. You're never going to dive with it, but they gave you a diver's extension anyway. The trouble with the diver's extension, not only is it just a cheap pressed one, it takes up a lot of room in the clasp, and that's why you only get 3 holes of micro adjust, and they're pretty close together. It'd be nice if they could not have the diver's extension and have 5 or 6 holes of micro adjust, and then you could always get the perfect fit. And the clasp is signed. It's a double. The clasp works great. It just wish once again that it had more holes of micro adjust. Here's the watch of my 7.5-inch wrist. I think it looks and wears great. Sits nice and flat. Yeah, it's a little chunky, but that's just the design of the watch. I don't think they can make it any thinner and still keep up with what they're trying to represent. And I removed 3 links, so you should be able to fit this on nice big wrists. The thing is, though, I only have 2 links and 2 half links to remove, so really small wrists, you might not be able to wear this. But then again, this is a big watch. If you have to take out all the links and it still doesn't fit, then the watch is probably too big for you anyway. But look at that crystal, though. You don't see a lot of reflection, do you? Here we are in the loom room. The PD1667 had decent enough loom for a Pagani Design, so let's see if this PD1685 is better with its fully loomed bezel. As we speed up the time, everything starts out with a pretty good glow, but unfortunately the loom doesn't have much legs and things begin to start disappearing. The loom pip appears to be the strongest thing on the watch, which would be great if the minute hand matched, but it doesn't. Since this watch is basically an upgrade to the PD1667 and I kept it, I figured I'd do a side-by-side to see if the loom is an upgrade. As we speed up the time, we see the only upgrade is the fully loomed bezel, but when it comes to the all-important hands, it isn't even close. The older watch smokes the newer except for the loom pip. What do I like about this watch? Well, I like the waves on the dial. I think that's a nice touch. I like the 6 o'clock date. I like the crystal and the AR coating, how it hardly reflects. And I like the fact that the bracelet has half links. What are my gripes and groans? The hand loom falls way below the loom pip, and so you can't use the timing in the dark. I think they should get rid of the diver's extension and add more holes of micro adjust for this clasp. And they said it was a 120 click bezel, but it's only a 90 click. And they kind of limited the amount of colorways for this model. There's no all blue, and there's no time to dye option or anything like that. Do I recommend this watch? Sure, this watch looks more like the real thing than the 1667 and is an improvement in every way except for the loom and maybe lack of colorways. Well, thank you for watching my review of the Pagani Design PD1685, and I will be back with an unboxing video. I got some more stuff from AliExpress. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel, and if you're interested in this watch, be sure to buy it through my affiliate link, and then I will get a tiny commission. Bye.